My favorite conception of God on screen is not this. It's not the God that spoke to Moses in the Prince of Egypt movie, as great and as epic as that was. It's not the egotistical, weird, strange God from the Preacher series from AMC. Great series, by the way, underrated show. My favorite kinds of depictions of God are the ones that we cannot understand. The God that we cannot understand. The most incomprehensible thing of all time. That's my favorite conception of God. So I went through all the scariest depictions of the God. I'm not talking about a God, or a demigod, or a Greek God, or anything. No, I'm talking about God himself. I went through all the scariest depictions to find the one, and there's been one that's a standout for me since the film came out. You see, you have different depictions of the God within the collective universe. Berserk manga shows the closest thing to God in that universe. God is not seen in that, but the idea of evil is the closest thing to God that we know from that universe, right? It's a primordial entity that embodies the sum of human collective desire for an explanation for suffering, acting as a supreme power that manipulates causality and fate to create God-hand members and apostles, right? We don't know what God really is in the Berserk show. At least I don't think so. But the idea of evil is the scariest thing that I can think of from here. You have the God from Begotten. If you all know about the experimental film Begotten, it's very fucked up and disturbing. And God in this basically is brutally mutilating himself, offing himself, stabbing himself, and from his flesh comes Mother Earth. And the stuff that happens to Mother Earth and her offspring basically gets getting molested and pillaged by humanity. And this, it's very, very disturbing. It's a very creepy, disturbing look at God. And then you have the Supreme Being, which is the God in the movie Time Bandits. It's an action-adventure film. I watched it as a kid, and this dude scared the shit out of me every time I saw him. God wanting to recreate reality, wipe it all and start all over. And his map of time has been stolen by these kids, the Time Bandits. And he has created also evil. The force of evil itself is also after that map. But it's all part of God's narrative. God knows what's happening. He knew it was going to be stolen. And I'm not talking about the freaking Supreme Being played by Taika Waititi in the show. Fuck that. I'm talking about this mofo. This mofo who's literally, look at that. Imagine this face, this primordial face chasing after you when you're a kid. This scared the shit out of me when I was a child. Then you have Portrait of a God, the famous short film on YouTube, Portrait of a God. This picture that showcases an entity that calls itself God himself. There's debate on what that means. Is this actually God? Is this a demon? Or is this a Lovecraftian entity? Probably is that. But it's a very, very scary depiction of God. No one can see God and live. And our character, her entire understanding of reality is questioned when she sees the true nature of God in this short film. But if we're getting Lovecraftian, then there are two depictions of God that go above and beyond. You see, In the Mouth of Madness is a Lovecraftian film that's metatextual, where the characters in this film suddenly start to realize that they are characters in a book, in a fiction, in a story. And when they start to realize this, everything starts to break. Lovecraftian beings start to break through their world, manifesting as the sum total of all the madness of humans when they realize they are fictional works in a story, with Sutter Kane's book being the thing that breaks through the bounds of fiction and reality. And what comes through when this bound is broken is a bunch of Lovecraftian entities, but I think there's something else going on here. When the characters in this film realize that they are characters in a book, and the chasm between reality and fiction starts to get cracked, the world starts to end. People start to go mad and start turning into monsters. The world itself, as we know it, ends, right? Who is the god in the Lovecraftian mythos? Who is God in that? It's Azazoth, the giant idiot sleeping god, who creation is his dream, and if he was to awake, it would all obliterate. I believe that what happens in The Mouth of Madness is that when the world ends in that, when everyone loses their mind and their sanity completely collapses, and their reality breaks in and on itself, and they're just, some of them are just left laughing, some of them turn into monsters, and humanity's gone. I believe that that is a showcase of Azazoth awakening. That is one of the most terrifying concepts of all time. God just awakening and everything going away, perishing. But the scariest God in movie history, in cinema history, that belongs to one film, and one film only. And a lot of you, it's not so what do you expect? So I need you to hear me out, okay? I need you to hear me out. There's a film that came out in 2019 with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe called The Lighthouse. And this film is a lot of allegory, a lot of metaphor, and when you understand what the two main characters represent, you'll understand what I mean. See, the story is about these two, keepers of a lighthouse, and their relationship devolving. And we have a lot of crazy imagery in this. You see the nature of Robert Pattinson's character go downhill completely. Basically, these two are meant to represent Prometheus and Proteus. Prometheus trying to get at the divine knowledge, the hidden knowledge, the power, the fire. The fire that the gods don't want given to humanity. He wants to steal the fire and take it. And he will be punished for it. That's exactly what this movie showcases. But I don't think the lighthouse, the light at the lighthouse, represents just the fire. Because yes, it does represent divine knowledge. I think it is God. Hear me out. Some of you might agree, some of you might disagree, but this is the truth. Yes, going by Greek mythos, this does represent divine knowledge and Prometheus fire. But I also think it represents God. It's either God or it's the light of God. Regardless, the point still stands true. What does a lighthouse do? It's like a guide for oncoming ships to guide them out of the dark, to bring them closer to where they need to be, right? Our characters cannot see this light. They can't touch it. If they do, shit goes wrong. It's a light at the top of their entire existence. And if you try to ascend to it, if you try to cheat to ascend to it, you'll be sent plummeting back down horrifically. There are some things that we are not meant to know, okay? And in this story, humans are not meant to know the full nature of God. And if they try to even get a glimpse, it'll drive them fucking insane. And that's what happens. Robert Pattinson tries. After disposing of Willem Dafoe, he tries to go up there, cheat his way to seeing God. And what occurs? Well, at first, everything's beautiful and warm. He's in God's embrace. You know how it's said in scriptures all the time, like, being with God, being in the presence of God is one of the most, it's the most beautiful existence ever. It's the greatest thing ever, right? It's the greatest feeling ever. Well, you see that in his face. It's pure ecstasy. It's every single hit of dopamine happening at the same fucking time. He looks overjoyed. It looks like he's having a goddamn orgasm here. And then he starts to look existentially terrified. Oh shit, I can't handle this. Get me out of here type thing. He's scared. He's horrified to the point where his mind is being blown, and then he starts losing his mind. It starts turning into hysteria. From happiness to his hysteria. From warmth to insanity. And then he's pushed down the fucking stairs. And the end of the movie I can't show because YouTube will demonetize me. His body is shown with his eyes plucked out and birds picking at his flesh. He is dilapidated. Prometheus style, or like Icarus who flew too close to the sun. That's what happens when a human being glimpses at God. They get they try to get a glimpse of God without earning it. They get fucking obliterated. God's true power, a little minuscule, atomic-sized sample of it, did that to a human. Destroyed his mind. Fractured him to the point where he was left dilapidated with his eyes plucked out, right? It's Lovecraftian. You don't know what it is, but that's the point. You're not supposed to know what's in that divine knowledge, what's in that divine chasm, what's in that light of God. Now, there's an octopus in this movie as well. And this octopus represents a sea god. All right? It's a creature from the sea that comes on and encroaches onto Robert Pattinson and tempts him into sin. It represents his guilt, his sin, his sexual depravity, his sexual urges, all of it. It basically is there in his worst moments. Now, because this movie likes to blend different mythos, I believe that this sea god is probably Dagon from the Lovecraftian mythos. Dagon represents like the fear of being lost at sea, which is very appropriate for a film that takes place in a lighthouse near a fucking ocean, near the sea, right? But because of how tied he is to Robert Pattinson's sin, and he comes from the lower part of the tower, right? I believe he can represent something else. Because they're mixing mythos, Lovecraftian mythos and Greek mythos, I think it's appropriate to also say that there's some biblical imagery happening here too. I believe that Dagon, or the octopus here, also represents the devil. The serpent from beneath that tempts our main character into sin, while the light at the top of the tower is the opposite of him, God. This is a devil and God relationship shown through our two characters at the front, Robert Pattinson specifically. So the devil's tempting Robert Pattinson to sin from beneath, and God must be at top with the ultimate light that no one can see, guiding all of humanity here, while the devil represents the fear of that humanity and them getting lost potentially and getting destroyed out there, right? It just makes too much sense, y'all. But God is infinitely more scary than that fucking octopus, because even that octopus knows he can't fuck with that. That is what makes God in the lighthouse, the light at the top of that tower, the most terrifying depiction of God I've seen in live action. That's it, y'all. I probably missed a few interpretations of God, but I can't think of any that really get to me like that, because the idea of just standing in front of God and be like, getting dilapidated, it's horrifying. It's terrifying. So yeah, that's not only the scariest depiction of God I've seen in live action format, on screen, in the big screen, but it's also my favorite, probably. I don't really think I've seen too many depictions of God that I really truly like on screen, and this is one of the best. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. If you want to know who the scariest devil, the scariest Satan in all cinema history is, you can watch this video over here. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are on a mission to take over Hollywood. But the army must keep growing. If you want to suggest video topics to me, or talk about your favorite movies or favorite film theories in a community with like-minded individuals, join the Zafy Discord now. Link is in the description and the comment section as well. Join us. This movement is just beginning. We're taking over Hollywood, one coke line at a time.